Okay, guys, so episode number 1 of the podcast, and we have Mr. Mark Gray with us. Mark, how are we doing?
I'm fantastic. Thanks for having me.
Very good, very good.
Episode number 1, I feel a little bit special.
You are special. You are special.
I like to think so.
Just about got you as well. You had a little bit of commotion with in the Bally, was it?
Yeah, it was, well, yesterday I was in a car crash. Coming back home, it was one of those weeks where those things just catch you out of left field. I was in an issue with a landlord, sorted, and then going back home to get ready to pack to go to Bali supposedly today. My Uber got T-boned, so whiplash, some crutches. I got up the stairs here today to make for this podcast just for you, Sheamie.
Just come out of the hospital bed, so I do appreciate that.
So.
We're getting to Bali tomorrow though, so yeah?
Bali tomorrow, yeah. So it's something I've been planning to go to Bali for the best part of a year. Missed it last year, too busy with work. This year I'm going tomorrow, and no major plans about coming back just yet. Things are going a nice place for me with my business and work-life balance. So looking forward to getting over there and carrying this new chapter of my life.
Happy days, man.
Excited.
Exciting stuff.
Yeah.
Been to Bali before?
Never been.
Exciting.
Long time admirer. I look at all the stuff on Instagram. My girlfriend was there last year as well, so I've seen so much from Bali. I feel like I'm there already because a lot of stuff that happens over there kind of resonates with me where I'm at in my life at the moment. So looking forward to trying it on for size.
Saff, man. Yeah. Happy days. So Mark, a little bit about yourself, kind of where I suppose kind of in terms of like business, where did you kind of start off? A little bit of a backstory about you and kind of I suppose where you are now and kind of what we're up to these days.
Okay, that's a very broad question, but I feel so I suppose with me, early life, I don't come from a family of entrepreneurs. My dad worked a day job, my mother mined us growing up, and I'm just going on 30 this year, so I got to see a recession full flown and what that does to a family. Mm-hmm. And when you're young and you understand what that is, all you want to do is help. Yeah. So when I was young, I see my parents working their ass off to get us everything they could, and then to see everything they'd worked for being taken away. And my dad was a very strong man at the time who worked. He was a truck driver. Well, for me, he was my idol growing up. So to see him go from being busy every single day to at some point someone just drawing a line from him and saying, "Okay, we've no work for you." Everything has to be now sold off, or any type of asset trying to live in you, kind of grown into yourself for you and for your family, just being taken away. So for me, that was a big pivot point. It was like, hey, even though I'm like 7, 8 at the time, I'm like, I want to do something.
What age are you?
7 or 8.
7 or 8, okay.
Yeah. My dad first time he lost his job was around 7 or 8.
Okay, yeah.
And I was just like, right, okay, I need to do something. I don't know what it is. I still want to play Power Rangers and Pokemon and all this sort of stuff, but I know that I just want to help my family at some point. And then, obviously, my dad got back on his feet again, as one does. Yeah. And then I've seen it happen again, back in 2008, 2009. I've seen this happen again. I said, shit, that's twice in my lifetime, and it's like 7-year cycle. So when's this going to happen again? So it made me spiral in school, to be honest, because I remember like being like whatever, maybe I don't know how long ago it was, maybe 13, 14, 15, around that age. I remember like I just want to get out and work. I want to go. I'm a man now, Yeah. I can do shit. So I went crazy because I wanted to just get out and work. I don't know what that looked like at the time. I just wanted to be a worker and get out and just earn some cash. And my parents wanted me to stay in school, so I didn't fall into the same trap as them. Yeah, so it was a catch-22, and I ended up like just being in conflict with them for a long time. And I just tore it up in school. Had the intelligence to do well in school, but had a bigger ambition for myself just to make money. I felt that was more important to me at the time. So it was at the time like I was, I started cutting hair at that point, and it wasn't now of like, oh, I'd like to try out cutting hair. It's like I was into my image, I was into my looks, I was like into hairstyles, and we couldn't afford to get haircuts as frequently. I like to get my haircut every week. Yeah, when you're a 13 or 14 year old, you want to get your haircut every week, and your parents can't afford to do it. You're like, right, necessity calls. So my mother used to cut my hair at the start, and I was like, shit, I can do a better job than you can. So I started cutting my hair, and my brother's hair, my dad's hair, and then that became kind of a thing. I was embarrassed though for a long time because I was cutting hair. I was just like, I don't want anyone to know and cut my own hair because we can't afford to do that. Okay. But then my friends like kept asking me, who cuts your hair? I go to this guy, And then like, yo, we know you're cutting your own hair, man. Like, can you cut our hair as well? So that became a thing. So I started cutting my friend's hair, and I carried that to the point of like 16, 17, and I wanted to leave school. And I was just like, I'm just going to keep cutting hair and see what happens. I never think it could be a thing where I could make money from. Mm-hmm. But the time I was just like, right, this is a thing I'm saving money for me and my friends. And it's a social thing. My friends would call around, I cut their hair, we'll chat, we'll play FIFA, have a drink, whatever we're going to do. And I carried that.
Drinking 16, was it?
Yes, 14, 15, 16. I was stressed.
16 all the way up.
I was stressed. So yeah, I carried that into college then. Parents told me to go and do college. So I went and tried college. They actually enrolled me in a nursing course. So my surname, up until I changed it, was Gay.
Okay.
And I did not want to be nurse Gay. I'm sorry, it wasn't for me. So I remember being in college being like, right, this is tough. Because I was cutting my friends' hair, and then the lads would call around to your house and you cut their hair and you go out, whatever. And it got to the point where I couldn't cut hair anymore for free because I couldn't afford to stay in college anymore. I was only getting a grant to stay in college. And after paying for my €40 for my house, I had €12 left to live off on for the week, which I used to break up into a chicken fillet roll and some wedges, and I do that 4 or 5 times a week until I got back home. So I was like, right, at some point I have to either give up college or find some avenue that's going to pay me. So I started charging the guys to cut their hair in college, a €5 haircut. And all of a sudden I started making 30, 40, 50 quid a day. And all of a sudden became 60, 70, 80 quid a day. I was like, shit, man. So I dropped out of college as soon as I got a taste of money. I didn't do nursing, by the way. I was doing marketing and learning marketing. I did very little of that. Did a lot of drinking, a lot of drugging. And eventually it's like, right, no, something else has to give here. And I just threw myself into barbering. And it became like my passport to Ireland then, because when I left college, I didn't have to be in the same surroundings and boundaries of college and live in that same lifestyle of what college kids had to go through then. But also meant I could go to, say, Limerick, or I could go to Galway, or I could go to wherever there was something happening.
A bit of extra cash, you could kind of go do stuff.
I was able to buy myself a car then. So I got myself on the road, and I was able to, these little milestones I wanted to notch up. And I realized that, hey, if I just keep going after this hair thing, and I just learning through YouTube, learning through different barbers that were good guys that were actually cutting hair. I'd go and sit in barbershops, wait till the line came to me, and I'd be like, okay, I have to go, or a phone call. So I was taught by pretty much every barber in Ireland.
Okay, yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of a rundown of how I kind of came into the whole, I set up my own business. Beforehand, I'd obviously done things, I had entrepreneurial tendencies when I was younger. I used to go on holidays with my parents, and I'd come back when to give me some money to spend.
Yeah.
I'd go and buy cigarettes, or I'd go buy sovereign rings. At the time, you were sovereign rings? No. Remember the rings that people used to wear like sovereigns on them?
No.
Right? Anyway, rings and chains, grinders like for grass and stuff. I used to bring them back, and I used to sell them to my friends. And my parents said, why was you not buying stuff? You're bringing back all this shit like because I wanted to make money off it.
Yeah.
So I had money when I got back home. I didn't care too much about the holiday. I just wanted to have enough money. So I always had little gigs going that I didn't realize were entrepreneurial, but I always found ways through selling fireworks in school, through like all these different things. That always kind of led back to me eventually to my own business. And eventually my first business was a barbershop that I opened at 19.
Happy
so,
days.
Yeah, it's kind of steamroll. I've gone a long way since that, but that was my first kind of foray into business, earning cash, and kind of what got me there. It was just a necessity.
Yeah.
You know, when desperate times come, you have to answer the call and see what you can do. You're not always ready.
Amazing. Yeah. No. And then I suppose, at what point did you kind of see when you started kind of cutting people's hair and you kind of started making a little bit of money? Did you ever kind of say, okay, now it's time to open up my own barber shop and kind of go into that avenue kind of thing?
So there was actually a loophole that I exploited.
Okay.
Of
course, one of
Irish
them. One of them. One of the many.
So what I realized was there was a thing called a back to work enterprise allowance. So what I was doing, I don't really care, but I was signing on to the dole. So I got my dole, which was like, for anyone who doesn't know, who's not from Ireland, it's like a social welfare payment, €100 per week. And they'd pay you to go and look for jobs. So I'd go and I'd look for jobs in barbershops. Because I had no experience working in a barbershop, no one would take me on. So I was on this job seekers allowance. But there was this thing where they said that we would pay you €188 per week, or I think it was €188 per week. Plus you get to keep whatever you earn if you have your own business. Plus you get tax breaks for the next 3 years. And we also give you some mentoring in business to show you how to get a business off the ground if you just set up a business. So I was like, right, 19. There's a place across from my old school, and I was like 19 years old. So like everyone that was still in school, I knew everyone there for being Jack the Lad, sports and friends and family and stuff like that. So I got a place for €50 a week directly across from my school. And I couldn't afford it at the time because I was too busy partying and enjoying myself to actually get it all done up like outside the way I wanted it. So I got an A4 piece of paper, black permanent marker, and I wrote MG Barbers on it, stuck it to the wall at the window outside facing out, and started making money, man.
Yeah.
But what was funny was back then I realized I'm going to spend a lot of time in this place. So I wanted this place to look like a place where I want to chill out. So I wanted it to be like my own living room, or, you know, so I put a PlayStation into it. I put all graffiti on the walls, and I put like cool posters and pictures up, and I had leather chairs and a big TV and a nice cool joint with like big fuck off speakers on it. So like I could sit there from one day to the other. If no one came in, I was going to get really good at FIFA. You know,
yeah.
And then school had finished. People would come in to me at 3 o'clock until like 5 o'clock, and it was my busy period. But my weekdays were quiet, and then my weekends were boom. So I started making €600, €700, €800 a week. And back then, that was a lot of money to me, because I came from driving to wherever for 30, 40 quid for haircuts to drive to this guy's house. So now people started coming to me. But at that time, I didn't realize that I had a long road to go. I didn't realize a businessman at that. I was like, I have a barbershop. I didn't realize that I was a businessman, and I wasn't. I was very immature. I was partying in the barbershop.
Going with the flow.
I was, going out the weekends. I remember put up a post one time. If you go onto my Facebook page, MG Barbers, you'll see like, gone to Sligo Rag Week, closed for the week. Right, I went to Sligo Rag. I closed the barbershop for the entire week. That's how stupid I was.
Yeah.
But also mature enough to realize that, hey, this is a phase I'm going through, and I'm just going to go through this phase, and eventually I'm going to crack it. But the time has been to let myself down, because people thought, this guy's a business and it's going, he just doesn't care about it. And I was like, I actually don't. It's just now I have money now. I don't really care about it to a certain degree. Like the name isn't something I want to be associated with. It doesn't really stand for a brand.
And just sorry to cut across you now, but like in terms of actually being a barber, was that something that you kind of wanted to be, something you were a little bit ashamed about, or?
No, it was like when you grow up with a name like Gay, you have a stigma attached to yourself with that. Like, so like I was like, right,
the second name and a barber, which probably wasn't too common at the time.
There was that, and then it was like, you want to be a barber? You really want to be a barber? I was like, oh, yeah, I kind of do, And I was kind of questioning myself, like, do I want to be? I'm actually getting pretty good at this, and I like doing it. It's creative, and I get to work with my friends and all that. It wasn't something I set out to be.
Yeah.
I wanted to do something in psychology, but I didn't have the interest in school. I wanted money, or like go to college and have no money for X many years, and at the time I needed money. So the money became the priority, and this barber followed suit. It was there the whole time. And it never left me. It was there from the time I was like 13, 14 with the minute with the clippers until all of a sudden I was 6, 7 years cutting hair, and I opened my own barbershop. And I was like, right, this thing actually makes sense. Yeah. So that was it. It wasn't that I planned to be a barber, but I knew with a skill I could make money with. Yeah.
Very good, yeah. And then I suppose so obviously right now you're not really cutting hair, well, maybe one or two here, but I don't think you're doing too much at the moment. So like, where are we at kind of right now from that? What was that transition from being a barber, I suppose, into kind of Mr. Mark Gray, as we see?
Well, first I want to change my name.
Gray. From Gay to Gray.
Gay to Gray, yeah. And the reason behind that was because I used to ring up hotels when I was traveling. They'd be like, I'd book my name, and they'd be like, or restaurants, like, what's the name? And I'd be like, Gay. They'd be like, Gray? I'd be like, no, Gay. Gray? I'm like, no, it's Gay. And they'd be like, Gay?
Oh, it is Gray.
I was like, okay, it's okay. So I just became that. So when I changed it over, I just got that many times, just like, Gray, it's Gray.
Yeah.
But so changed my name, obviously.
How long ago was that?
That was last year.
Yeah,
I changed my name last year. Yeah, just there's a lot of over here. It's actually a funny story. The word for gay, like, it's more like faggot, which is a word I probably shouldn't say, but it is the Arabic is maniac.
Maniac.
Okay. I don't know the exact translation of that, but I remember when I started living in Dubai and come back and forth to Dubai, I started learning bits of Arabic, and I have Arabic business partners, and they were booking me a flight one of the days, and they knew I changed my name. I was getting ready to change my name, and they go, "Oh, is it still Maniac or is it Gray?" And I was like, "These motherfuckers have been taking the piss out of me for years like this, because I know what they are. They're legends." But like, so I changed my name. And then, I suppose what ended up happening was I closed that first original barbershop, and I went to work for another guy who taught me how to teach people properly, how to like show up and run a business. I became the manager of that barbershop. I worked crazy hours to build up some cash, build up my name, build up my reputation. And then I opened up what was Notorious Barbershop, which was my very first branded barbershop. Mm-hmm. That was kind of the first of its kind. It was a 2-story building. Yeah. All the stuff, like the mini version of what I'd built in the MG Barbers, was just lifted and magnified in Notorious. And it just took off, man. That just took off.
And this was in Athlone, was it? Mullingar.
Yeah, the Big Smoke.
That was the first one.
That one took off. Yeah. I slept in that place. Yeah. People ask, like, what did you do to get your business off the ground? So like, oh, did you do this, do that? I slept in the fucker for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. Literally, I would go, just wake up, cut hair, go to sleep in the place, built a little kitchen in place, a little small bed, everything. I slept in that for, I think it was 2 months, 3 months to build it, by which point, first 2 weeks was quiet because I was afraid to use social media. I was like, it's Notorious Barbers,
Get out there and put yourself out there.
Yeah,
isn't it, in a way?
And at the time I'd built a small following on Instagram and Snapchat at the time, so I was like, maybe I should start actually posting on that. I was like, do you want to be the social guy who's out here, like, being the guy that shows up every party that you can't miss a party, it's not a party if Mark's not there? Or do you want to be the social media guy that could potentially set up a business that could make you real money and change the outlook of what your life is supposed to be at this point? Yeah. So I remember just at one point being in the place and it was quiet, it was dead. I just flicked on the phone, I was just like, hey, this is Mark, Notorious Barbers, we're just open now, this is the times you grow, we mow. It was something stupid like that. It took off, right?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden we have 8-hour queues outside the barbershop, and I had to keep hiring. So I opened an academy in the Barber Notorious Academy.
Okay.
So I started bringing guys in, train up friends, clients, customers to become barbers, and building that first location to be 10 barbers. Then I took the cash from the academy into the next barbershop, and the next one, and the next one, and the next one, and the next one. It just became a thing. We're opening a barbershop every 3 to 6 months.
And how many did you finish off with?
With 7.
And currently now?
I've sold off 5, sold 4, closed 1, have 2.
Sick.
Yeah.
Sick.
I feel like I'm talking about my babies.
Yeah, they're.
But that was my, from doing that kind of set me up and realizing that when you do 7, 8 barbershops, you realize that so part of this is just becomes protocol.
Yeah.
And you're operating off an SOP, whereas like the next natural thing to do is open another one. And I realized at this point that the more I opened, it didn't naturally mean more money for myself. So it was like, this is a quantity thing. That's not so much about the quality of like the lifestyle and getting with this. The more I open, the more stress I get. The more mouths I have to feed, the more personalities I have to take care of and manage. And at this point, when you build a brand like I was building as fast as I was building it, and my following was shooting up on social media, brands are looking at me to start helping them grow their business, like tech businesses that are opening up inside the Airbnb space. Yeah. I start getting invited all around the world to teach at these trade shows and teach at these tech seminars, as marketing events. And that was I got out of my business to start realizing I have to work on my business or working in my business. And a lot of people don't realize you have to do that.
Yeah, for sure.
They end up stepping out of a job saying, I don't want to work for somebody else anymore, so I'm going to build my own business. And that's normally how it goes. Fuck my boss, fuck him, fuck that place, I'm not going back, fuck the people.
Nobody's telling me what to do.
Right? Yeah. So then they go and take on a job in their own business and don't realize that because you're not schooled how to do that. So they end up giving themselves a job which is way more labor intensive, way more, I suppose, expensive for them, and stressful for them to manage. And they have way less time for themselves outside it. And when you haven't got that time to lift yourself outside of your business, to look at what's going wrong in your business, you don't get to grow that business. And you become a product in your business and an essential cog in that wheel. So for me, being lifted out of that business to go and work and consult for other brands, it showed me the world. It took me to work with some amazing celebrities. I got to hear from some fantastic people. I got to speak at amazing events. I got to understand different businesses. And that's when I realized, I don't so much like the cut hair thing anymore.
Okay.
I like it. It was my creative outlet, and it's created this life for me and this name and this profile. But I don't so much like that anymore. I kind of like this business thing. So like barbering was my gateway drug. It gave me this opening into business. You have to learn everything on your feet and be savvy with things and make a lot of mistakes. Yeah. I made a lot of mistakes. But it's opened me up now to do everything I'm doing now because I got to sample different things and try. I was just like, that's good. That's good. So that's kind of set me up through that. I met you never know who's going to sit in your chair. Mm-hmm. You never know that.
You got some big names as well, didn't you, in America?
Yeah. Some big people. Won't disclose them all, but cut some big people. They took me around the world and great people. Yeah, weird ones. Some weird ones. Weird things happen. You never know. Like there's a whole life out there. But I was very fixated in the US for a while, but thankfully I got that phase out.
Like, how wasn't long ago you were in the US, was it?
Yeah.
What brought you to Dubai, I guess? Like what's going on here?
Once I lifted away from working with the brands over in the US, like working with other people, consulting for them, I came across some guys they were called Elegance at the time, and they were the Real Madrid of cutting hair.
Yeah.
They had these amazing guys that were working with them, all super celebrities in their own right. They cut the top celebrities around the world. Again, I won't disclose all their names, but if you follow their social medias, my brand, you'll see who they are. And they became celebrities by working with celebrities. People want to see what behind the scenes or what's going on. So it became that, I suppose, that portal, that window into that lifestyle behind the scenes of those celebrities. So I started consulting with this brand for a while. I was working with them in the US. I moved over there for a couple of months and worked with them in Chicago. And I ended up buying into the brand. But at the time, they had a franchise of the older brand Elegance, and we said, hey, we're being limited what we can do here, and my connection was in Europe, and I couldn't do anything with my connections to give to them because we're limited only to the US.
Okay.
And long story short, we struck a plan. We created a window for ourselves. We opened up that brand, and now we're in 40 countries around the world, and we're growing. Our revenue is fantastic. Our team is fantastic. Our leadership team is amazing. Our partners that we have here in Dubai, like I said, you go get your haircut and you see our brand. Yeah, they really fuck with our brand.
So funny, bro, because I'll just cut across your hair. I was in getting my haircut in Fade and Shave. I think it was one of just a normal barbershop, and I was like saw the level 3 pants on this guy. I was like, oh, you know level 3? He was like, yeah. He was like, you know Mark? He was like, yeah. Mark's a good guy, man. He's a good guy. I thought he was hilarious. I was like, no way. I didn't think it was that big time.
Yeah, it's crazy. You never know, man. And that's where, like,
It's nuts, bro.
When we go to these shows, like these trade shows, people are like, what do you do with these shows? It's hard to describe. We celebrate barbering.
Yeah. I've seen the videos of you up on stage.
Yeah. We celebrate because not a lot of people do that. Like, like it's seen, as I said, a taboo. Like, oh, you're going to be a barber, and I was like, I'm going to be a fucking barber. And we made barbering cool to a certain degree. Like, I trained a lot of guys who from plumbers to farmers to electricians to bankers to you name it. People just hopped on and be like, hey, this is a job where I get to meet great people, listen to great music, talk about football. You never know who's going to sit in your chair. Get a chance to travel around the world. But the skills that I can take, I can pack up my job in my backpack and bring it anywhere. And once I'm a good speaker and I'm confident and I know how to create an image for a guy, I can bring it anywhere. So we celebrate that.
Yeah.
And we celebrate the people who represent us. And we celebrate the clients that get into the chairs. And we teach people how to make more money from the barbershop. So that's what we do with our brands. And we're by barbers for barbers. Our board consists of 6 guys and half of them barbers. So every product that we make is tested by guys who are just like, we're going to drill granularly into how do we make it the best fucking product with the best materials. And we test it. Like, we do extensive R&D to no end. And it shows, and we, as I said, we celebrate the barbers. So that's what brought me here.
Just want to touch off a little point that you actually made there, that you said literally you had a skill, you could pick it up and go anywhere. I think that's quite powerful as well. Like, kind of, what would you say to people, like, in terms of, like, I suppose when it comes to making money and stuff like that, and people are maybe struggling, they're kind of, I suppose, maybe they just feel that they're in a dead end job.
Yeah.
Maybe a 9 to 5, maybe they don't even have a job, they're drawing the dole and stuff like that. Like, what would you say, like, to that kind of a people? Like, what is their option? What can they do in terms of, like, upskilling and kind of getting out of that certain position?
Right. Well, I think the biggest thing for people is the thing to have your own business, you have to be passionate.
Yeah.
This is like passion over paychecks. I'm more about paychecks over passion, right? So I do believe that, like, you can turn your passion into a paycheck, but you can be a long time waiting to get that. So I think you have to chase a paycheck first and to release yourself from that, and to create that, I suppose, give yourself that comfortability that that, right? Being comfortable is a good and a bad thing.
Yeah.
Right? You can be comfortable in a job. If you're comfortable in a job for a purpose, that's fine. You're buying time, you're opening, you're getting your bills paid for, your lifestyle is taken care of, you have enough money took aside for investments or to invest into yourself. But if you sit any longer and you get too comfortable, that's extremely dangerous because you're settling. You should never settle in life. You should always be reaching. So I think it's about working in a job that you might not necessarily like, to give yourself enough cash in the bank or in your pillowcase, whatever that is, to create a window for yourself so you can fucking escape. And that's what people need to do. They need to just create that window for us. And people don't want to sacrifice. Oh, but I want the nice car and I want the house and I want all this. But, like, what's it costing you? Is it costing your freedom? Is it costing you your health? Is it costing you how you think about yourself? Is it costing the people you miss out on meeting because you have to be in a place from 9 to 6 o'clock in the day and you're drained when you go home? And because you don't fuck with your job, you don't like the people in your job, you don't care about looking good in your job, what's the residual and compound cost of that to you? People, they overestimate how hard it is to actually open the business.
Yeah.
They overestimate how hard it is to actually get out and create something for yourself. And they underestimate themselves.
Yeah.
Because it's not that hard. You can decide now, I'm going to do something. We're in a part, like, we're young, Sheamie, but, like, when we were growing up, we didn't have the YouTube knowledge that we had now. We haven't got all these mentors that are out to now. Like, look at the guys that we know that we can turn to right now in our phone book or on Instagram and write to. We didn't have that growing up. I know our parents before didn't have that, and our parents' didn't have that. So we're at such an amazing point where influencers, entrepreneurs, brands want to engage at a high level now that you can start up anything. You can get out there and you can create jobs. You can work remotely. When was that ever an opportunity for anyone before? You can work at someone's business without actually working in someone's business. You can do remote closing, you can do sales, you can do agency online, you can do so much. There's so much money out there that you can actually take. It's about creating that window for yourself and giving yourself that fundamental foundational knowledge to learn an industry, learn a skill set, and take the fucking leap. I think people become paralyzed. And it's analysis paralysis.
Yeah.
Where they think, I have to have all the keys to the game or do this. Or when I get this, I get that. No. Just fucking jump. Create that window for yourself, that cushion. You don't need long to test it. I see him putting hairs up my ears to talk about. You don't need long to test it. You need about a window of about 2 or 3 months. And people underestimate the amount of work that you can get done if you are driven like a motherfucker in 3 months. People say, oh, you need a 5-year plan. No, you don't.
I think things can move very, very quickly when you like, even what was the Udemy, the website, you can literally go on, search anything, copywriting, Facebook ads, marketing, there's endless courses on it. And it's literally just about taking time. It doesn't even have to be that much on, and just applying yourself and focusing on a certain topic for a period of time. And then, as you said, just take that leap of faith. And the majority of the time it's going to work. And if it doesn't, you're going to be in the same position. So yeah, I think it's just about applying yourself to a certain skill, just committing to that for a period of time, and then just going for it, and actually just go and see, going and just seeing, does it work? And if it doesn't, as I said, you're back in square one.
Yeah, exactly. What's the worst, you know? People always think like, what's the worst can happen? That's the biggest problem I see with Irish people. They always have this whole like, what's the worst that could happen? What's the fucking best that can happen?
What's the best?
What if it blows everything of your wildest dreams out of war? What if? You know, and that book starts with you, man. You know, it starts with you. And people we're afraid to dream, I think, in Ireland. I think we're afraid to let people think that we dream. Not just Ireland. I think it's a global, that's a real global pandemic.
I personally think, though, I think it's getting a lot more, like, people are actually kind of putting themselves out there a little bit more.
Yeah.
As of late, I feel.
Yeah.
Because I remember even when I started my business, it was kind of like, it was like, holy fuck. I remember luckily I was actually in Canada, so I wasn't, you know, I think when you're in Ireland, it's like, okay, what's this person thinking, what's that person thinking? It can kind of play up on you a little bit. And I think that's what stops a lot of people from actually going for something, is thinking about, what will this person think? What will that person think? So just kind of getting rid of that mindset, I suppose, and just being like, fucking, who gives a fuck? I'm going to go for it. Yeah. At the end of the day, you get one shot at life, so you might as well just go for it, commit to it.
Roll the dice.
Yeah.
What was it for you that made you jump away from your job you were doing in Canada? Like, what made you choose, like, PTing was your first outlet? What was that for you? Like, what was like, this I'm going to explore?
So it's funny, I suppose, like, always up along, I was kind of committed. Like, I love the gym. I always went to the gym, played sports and stuff, but kind of gym was kind of the one that always stuck. I was hooked on it. Like, even after a night out, I'd go into the gym the next day, no issues.
Yeah.
Can't do that as of now, but then I could have. But I was in Canada, I suppose. I was always training all the way up along, and just remember I was like kind of just doing a lot of boozing and stuff like that. And I was like, no, I need to cut this out. Like, so I just cut the boozing out. I fully committed to the gym. I remember I got myself a coach at the time. Got myself a coach, and within 8 weeks, man, I remember just being like, holy fuck, I got results that I've been trying for fucking 5 years before, and I got it within the space of 8 weeks. I was like, this is nuts. I was like, there's something in this. And I remember I had just that kind of, I wanted to learn more about it, and there was never in college, in school, nothing. Subjects, you know, everyone kind of had that one subject. Yeah. School or college, and never had that. I was like, fuck, what's wrong with me? Like, but this was the one thing I remember. I used to get up, doing 14-hour days in work. I used to get up before that, 5 a.m. in the morning. I used to do 2 hours of study for my PT course online. Go to work for the full day, come home, eat, go to the gym, repeat that 6 days a week. Then Sunday was kind of my day to really just literally go to the coffee shop, because I always saw people in Starbucks. I was like, that's what I want. I'm coming in with shit all over me, finishing work, coming in to get a coffee, and these people are sitting in nice clothes, having conversations. You know, it looks like a nice lifestyle. So I was like, that's what I wanted. So I used to grab my laptop, go to the coffee shops when I was off, and just start blasting a load of work. Just studying at the time. I didn't have much to do, but I was just learning and educating myself. So then I remember being like, one morning, I think it was actually, we all got snowed in, and I remember I'd moved out of the house at the time.
Here, right?
No, definitely not here. I was in Canada at the time, but it was like snowed in, and everyone we all got off work. I remember a lot of people went boozing and stuff. I was like, oh yeah, let's have a laugh. I remember that was kind of one moment I was like, I'm not going booze. I'm going literally fucking studying and completing this course that I started. I remember looking at myself in the mirror and be like, I'm going to make something out of this for sure. I know for a fact I will. Because I was like, there was never anything I put so much time and effort into, and I was so, like, I suppose, passionate in a way about it. But I was like, I didn't really know the levels that it could go to at the time, because online coaching wasn't really a big thing back then. But I suppose then again, it's just you're kind of going into it. It was like, okay, it's going to be a PT working in the gym. You know, it's not, there's not that fucking thinking, okay, I'm going to make a lot of money out of this. But little did I know, COVID came around and kind of changed things around. The online coaching became big. And then I suppose, it's kind of me putting that work in, not really knowing where I was going to go. and to the place that I have got, it was kind of unthinkable, really. Like, just kind of committing to it and putting the work in.
Yeah, like I always say, and you did it, is you try it on for size first. You had to visualize that building sites weren't for you, and like going out into the cold in Canada as well. Obviously, you got snowed in. It's been fucking cold at some point for it to snow. You seen it as you go into the coffee shop and you see people sitting down and they were on the laptop and they're in their clean clothes. Your thing that you wanted to do in your spare time was go and sit in a coffee shop. So you got a chance to try it on for size. Like, that's a massive thing. Does this lifestyle suit me? Do I like sitting in that coffee shop?
Yeah.
Like, because you can visualize it. And I know, like, we're I like that we sit down, we visualize, meditate, and we see ourselves further ahead. But trying on for size is a different thing. And people kind of fixate on what the grass is always going to be greener like. Try it on for size. Speak to the person, hey, what do you do in the coffee shop? And you'd be surprised the answers you're going to get. You're surprised the person you're going to meet. You never know who's going to, as I said, in my instance, was who's going to sit in my chair. Yeah. If you haven't got a chair for someone to sit in, you have to find people who sit in a chair and get talking to those people. And what I used to do is when I was cutting hair, as I moved all over the world cutting hair, what I used to do was, if someone wants to sit if I had an empty space in my chair, I used to think, who has my money? That was my thing. I used to go off like, who has my money? Somebody has my money out there.
Who has my money?
Yeah. So you used to like visualize who this person was, who had my money, who was going to pay me the most amount of money for my services. Yeah. And my services weren't cheap. They were $250 for a haircut. It's a lot of money to a lot of people. But I knew there was people out there who was willing to pay it, because why? I had the litmus test. People had already paid me that for it. Yeah. There's just more people out there. So for me to like have that vacant spot in my calendar, because I was working like you 14, 16 hours a day, cutting hair, bed to work. I'd go to places where I was likely to find that person. And what I do was, I had a choice, right? On my hour or 2 hour gap, my lunch break, and if I had a vacancy in my timeline, I could sit in the barbershop and eat by myself, or where no one's going to come in and talk to me. I'm never going to pick a new customer there. Yeah. Or I could go out on the street and pay 20 quid or 40 quid or 50 quid for my meal, with the hopeful opportunity that I might bump into someone in that cafe that's going to eventually pay for that meal for me, or is going to become a customer. I think it's very expensive to eat. And people think when you're trying to save money, you need to sit in and save money and huddle. Don't cut down your coffees for your lifestyle.
Don't spend 10 quid.
Don't go on the lunch. Yeah. Cut back. Bring your packed lunches. Fuck all that. Yeah. You're not going to meet anyone new there that's in your house or in your apartment or
sitting in your car or lunch break.
You know what I mean? It's very expensive to do that. I think it's very expensive. So I think when you go to get a chance to go out and prospect your potential candidates, or prospect the person that you'd like to be like. Yeah, for sure. How did you get there? And you'd be surprised, man. I mean, the guy Daniel Mack, what do you do for a living? What do you do for a living? All of a sudden, the guy who was asking the guys in the supercars what they did for a living to get the supercar, now is a brand new fucking Porsche. How do you get that? By talking to people. So I think people underestimate that. I think you have to take the leap. And as I said, create that window for yourself. And you do have to take sacrifice. You had two opportunities. One, with your spare time, you go to the coffee shop and you look at the guys there and you'd say, I want to be that. So you got a chance to visualize that. And every day you get up in the cold, you're thinking like, I do not want to be here. I want to be fucking there. Even just a coffee shop, I want to be there. No,
for sure, man. I think a big thing was for me, it was like, it was free. It was hard work, man. I knew I was working harder because I was working with another Irish guy. Yeah. So I was fucking working way harder than anyone else that was working with 100 people on a building site. It was me and the boss. I worked fucking hard, like, so I knew but I'm thankful for that work. I'm thankful for that hard work, and it's kind of, I suppose it kind of made me realize, like, the fuck, I don't really want to be doing this long term either. That there is kind of other ways to make money, to enjoy my life, to enjoy what I'm doing, to actually get up and be fucking buzzing for a Monday morning, not be like, fuck, here we go again after a heavy weekend of booze. So yeah, I definitely think that. And then, I suppose, as you said, you're putting yourself out into different situations and trying to connect with people.
I think it's the consistency of it too. Yeah. Like, I think where a lot of people go wrong when they're opening a business, or they sample out so many things, because people have this stupid fucking thing that we thought you need 7 streams of income to become a millionaire. That's so retarded. Is it, honestly, I think it's disgusting minds to have, because if you 7 things, and I said this to you earlier when we were talking about you training me over the summer. Yeah. I said, I want to pay you money so I pay attention. So when you're following the money and you've 7 different things, it's hard enough. People think they get it wrong, that if they're going up 7 streams to become a millionaire, and they're like, I have 7 different businesses. I'm like, right, so which ones gets the most attention? Oh, I'm doing this and this and this and this and this. Okay, so are they all doing big numbers? No. But how about you narrow your focus first on the thing that's the highest potential, which you enjoy the most, that makes you get up in the morning, the thing that you automatically work on when you first get up. You might even know if you have 7 different businesses or 7 different things you're working on. Yeah. How about you just focus on that one thing that really sets you on fire? and do that really well and bring that passion up into it and then stay consistent at that and get that to your 7 figures. And then you can look at the next stream of income, only if it's directly associated with the thing that got you to your first million, the thing that got you to your first 10K. And I know millions are crazy a number to throw to a lot of people, but £1,000,000 is not a lot of money anymore.
No.
I don't think £1,000,000 makes you a millionaire anymore. Because take $1 off that million, you're not a millionaire anymore. And £1,000,000 now, with inflation, how things are going, it's not a lot of money, man. You can't even buy a house in Dublin with that anymore. So I think it's about being consistent on one thing, finding that one thing that sets you on fire. If you do, sample different things, try them on for size. Does it work for you? Does it not? What you like about it, what you dislike about it, and just quantify and quantitatively study that, and then be like, okay, I'm going after this, and go after that income, go after that lifestyle that goes with that, and make it bleed for you, and then look at other things. Stay consistent at it.
And then would you say, like, when it comes to, I suppose, because it can be quite easy to be kind of like you're doing one thing for a certain period of time, and you're just like kind of get, I suppose, it's the shiny object syndrome. So you're kind of like, oh, I'd like to be doing this, or I'd like to be doing that, or you see Forex, or you see crypto, or you see, it's kind of like your head can be going many different places. But what would you say to really, really focus on? So would you say like, is a 7-figure business what you would be aiming for before you start kind of pottering around in other different things? Or is it kind of to the point where it's potentially just scalable and then kind of taking that disposable income and putting it into other things?
The money doesn't make it the man make it the money. That's what it is. Like, it's the money really, like, I've been fortunate enough to have 7 figures jump in my bank account multiple times in my life. And did that make any difference in my life? Actually, immediately, no. You're thinking like, how can it not? And it sounds like very condescending to a lot of people, but it actually doesn't. I was probably the most depressed when that money hit my bank account, because it gave me like, what I should have this feeling of this hits your account. It doesn't. You don't have that feeling. In fact, it actually is like you walk into work the next day with less drive, being like, so I make more money, I don't get any happier. You know. So I think 10 grand a month is the first life-changing amount of money. That's $10,000 a month. When you make that first 10 grand, that's life-changing money to a lot of people. Because I know back home in Ireland, they say, and I know I keep referencing Ireland because we're not in Ireland, but I know a lot of people might be watching this, be Irish, and we're Irish ourselves, is to say the average wage in Ireland is like 45 grand a year. I know a lot of people making a hell of a lot less than that. I know very few people making over 45 grand a year. And I know that if you're making any less than 60 grand a year, it's tough living in Ireland.
But even when it comes to when you hit that certain bracket of like you go over a certain, but I know if I was back home, I would think it would be doing like 42% in taxes I would have to pay last year. Yeah. Which is fucking nuts, man.
It's crazy.
So it's kind of like, in a way, it's nearly like, why would you want to kind of try make more money? It kind of nearly keeps you in this like, well, remember I used to work in the factory. And we do overtime to get fucking, your extra bit of cash or whatever. But there was a certain amount, if you went over that overtime, you were actually coming out with less. So it's just kind of like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, it's just
fucked if you do and fucked if you don't.
It's fucking right? It's a joke, really.
Yeah, I think going back to that becomes, when you reach a certain level of income, you have to just be like, right, now I need to just manufacture my get out of here. So when you get over 60, 70K like a year, that's when like, right, my lifestyle is not going to change much more because I'm going to be so heavily taxed when I get above this. Like, I remember my last tax bracket was 51 cent to the euro. So I'd been taxed 51%, my last tax bracket. And I remember giving away enough that could have bought me apartments in tax money. That was it for me. It's like, I'm disgusted.
Out of here.
Yeah. So I think the first pivot for life-changing money for people is not like a 7-figure business, because people, that's just a random number. Number and time is man-made. Yeah. So we just chose there was 24 hours in a day. We chose that 7 figures is what makes successful business, because it's glorified by millionaire status and all those millionaire handbooks, millionaire guides. But I think 10 grand a month, dollars, euros, is the first real exhale.
Okay. We're getting places.
We're getting places now. I can afford to have a nice place to live in. I can afford to go on a couple of holidays per year. I can afford to have a nice car for myself. I can afford to treat my parents. I can afford to treat my friends. I can afford to give money away to people as well. If you know that's coming in, how do you get to that? I think, as I said, you get a job first. You do what you said earlier on. You go into these online courses like Udemy. You get some mentors as well. Now there's mentors out there. There's people that
literally couldn't be fucking easier. With the internet at our fingertips. Like,
honestly, man, I think there's a lot of bitches and pussies.
Bitches for sure, man. But people are just like, feel stuck in a rut. They're waiting for circumstances to change it, when it's like, you need to change.
Yes.
Shit's not going to change. You need to fucking change it, and you need to get to where you want to be.
I think that's key. And I think if you can, and that's why I'm happy you said like what started you out was you're already training really hard in the gym, and you build that consistency into yourself. You knew in order to actually make big changes in your life, you had to be consistent.
Consistent, I think
that's where people go wrong. To have this whole thing of where I need to be motivated the whole time, and I'm not motivated to do this. Motivation is nothing. I can be super motivated in a really successful business and wake up tomorrow and be not motivated because I ate too much the night before, because I drank the night before, because someone said boo to me the night before or that morning, But I think inspiration is a lot more stronger thing to anchor yourself to than that. So you have to have a mission that's bigger than you.
Okay.
And let's not be 5 years away.
Yeah.
And people say, oh, here's my 5-year plan. I don't give a fuck about your 5-year plan. Your mission has to be bigger.
Your mission can be simply just like paying off your family's mortgage, getting your family out of debt. It doesn't have to be, Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And that's most people that do this thing that like where they inject themselves into a life that is like, I'm dead set on this, normally comes back to the stuff that happened in your childhood.
Mm-hmm.
Normally drives back to that. My big thing was I wanted to have my parents, and it set me on this whole thing of wanting to prove myself to my dad because I had daddy issues. That I've rectified with him through like getting to where I am and talking to him and having conversations and dialogues, but then also realizing that it's not just about the money anymore. I just want to be able to help. My big thing was like I want to impress my dad, and then I also want to pay off the mortgage. Nothing was to do with me. None of it was about me.
None of it.
I never cared about money.
And as of now, like in terms of sort of mortgage paid off, helped out your family and stuff, what would you say is kind of driving you now? Like what's making you tick on a daily basis?
My own happiness, to be honest. I used to, I didn't realize what it was for a long time until I seen the Michael Jordan documentary, The Last Dance.
Yeah, okay.
I used to take things personally. I used to look at things.
And this wasn't too long ago, was it? Because I remember when I met you, things, not in a bad way, but you kind of use it to fire you up, I remember, yeah.
Yeah. I used to look for things. I remember I met a girl in school, right? A girl, when I was at the seminar at Barbershops, and I had a couple of business going time, and I met this girl, and she's like, oh, Mark, how are you doing? I was doing well, yeah, whatever. I met her just outside a random place in Mullingar, and she goes, you're doing so well for yourself. I was like, oh, thank you. And she goes, who would ever thought it?
Yeah.
And it was a simple thing like that, right? She goes, I was like, what do you mean? She goes, oh, who would ever thought it? Like, the way you were in school, I was like, I thought, and that's why I got where I'm at. And I use that, whatever she said, there's like, she has an opinion of me, Grant, I'm going to show you, even though I wasn't showing her anything. And that one lapse of her judgment to say something, or for me to read it that way, gave me enough fuel to be like, I'm going to burn this thing to the ground. Mm-hmm. And I just looked for other things like that. And I realized that when someone would say something about me or someone making a remark at me, I was like, thank you. I remember
one point stands out, you were like, who's going to piss me off today so I can go make some money, essentially. You said that to me one day.
Yeah. And I didn't get what it was until the last. I was like, that's me. Because I remember looking at it being like, he's a fucking psycho.
Yeah.
That's me. I do this exact same shit. Yeah. Then I realized, I had to realize why, you get so far. And as I said, there was a point in my barbershop, when I was building the barbershop, so I was like, the next thing for me to do is just open another business, open another barbershop, and another one. And like, who am I doing this for? Am I doing it for the employees, or am I doing it for myself? So the same thing was like, am I doing this because I had taken these people's word and turned it into fuel to burn? Or am I doing it for myself? Like, where am I? And it wasn't until I sat with someone recently, like as a coach I took on for happiness. It sounds crazy. Why do you need a happiness coach? You have all the things you want, all the things you have, the boxes checked and all that. But you lose yourself along the way. And I was afraid of losing that too. I done San Pedro in Ireland, which is plant medicine. And the medicine taught to me, and it sounds crazy, but it taught to me and it allowed me to release myself from that an awful lot and understand and pinpoint certain parts of my life that I'd forgotten about, that made up who I am.
Okay.
And that opened the door for me. Then I got a coach then to help me understand and translate the messages I was getting. And he asked me a question. It's like, who are you? And I said, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm this and I'm that. And he goes, no, that's what you do. Okay, who are you? And I was like, I like music, I like going to the gym. He's like, no, that's what you like. It's like, who are you? And I'm like, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a part for me. I was like, fuck, I don't even know who I am. Mm-hmm. So if I don't know who I am, what do I know that I would, what do I know that I'd like? Who am I doing this all for? Am I happy to back for it all? And my dad asked me a question back in Ireland when I did the plant medicine. He goes, you've learned all this stuff, are you happy? And I do a lot of things where I won't lie. Lying for me is like a holy grail thing I won't cross. I lied to my dad that day. I said, he goes, are you happy? And I go, I am, yeah. And I was like, down to the bedroom afterwards. I said, why the fuck did I lie there? I know I'm not happy. So for me, I found myself a lot along the way. I realized that me being happy and knowing what I actually want from life and what I want to achieve and how I want to achieve and the person I want to be when I'm achieving it as well, with the people that I'd like to achieve it with, that makes me happy. And that has anchored me and driven me a hell of a lot more and focused me on things instead of trying to have my hand in so many different pots. As I said, I had 11 or 12 different businesses at one point. I'm now narrowing that scope to the things that really, really matter to me, so I can be as attentive, as there for my friends, as there for my family, as there for the people that I love, and be the best driver in my business. Not from a place of anger or hurt or pain, but from a place of like, hey, I'm doing this for a reason and for a purpose, and this is my vehicle to help me get there. I'm not romantic about my business anymore. I love being in business. I love the people I meet in business.
Yeah.
But I think when my time eventually comes, my time will come. I don't know what that looks like yet.
And I think it's important, like, or you just kind of go through different stages of your life, really, isn't it? Like, just kind of, yeah, and I suppose kind of maybe closing one chapter, opening up a new chapter, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what would you, so do you feel like kind of nearly in a way that you were putting out kind of this image that wasn't actually you for the last couple of years when you were kind of doing all this work and trying to kind of use people as fuel and stuff like that?
I'd say the biggest thing for me, I think I realized is success is the hammock, you know, and as you grow in business, you grow as a person too, you know. And I think what it was for me, that people say like you changed when you got money, as I realized that a lot of people changed around me when I got money, and then I had to be a certain type of guy to get that money. I had to cut off a certain amount of people to get to that guy who was able to make that money. And I had to make these micro adjustments in my life, and you're going to piss a lot of people off when you start to take life on, you know. You're going to piss a lot of people off, and if you have 15, 20, 30 friends, they're not all your friends, man. If you have people that you go out and drink with and smoke with and party with and drug with, whatever it is going to be that you do, I don't frown on any of it because I've done all that in my life. But there's people that you grow with, and there's people that you have to like eventually step away from. And I realized that the person that I want to be doesn't do that. And I had to pick up a mentor. And I had mentors early on in life, and it sounds again condescending, but it's not. I passed all my mentors out because I did different things. I had a mentor for barbering, a mentor for business, a mentor for, you know, for finance, mentor for crypto, a mentor for, and I found a mentor for everything. Because I think if you get a good mentor in elements that you're exploring, someone's going to give you the blueprint. It's going to stop you from falling into these holes. But I couldn't find a mentor to actually help me because no one had done what I had done through my shoes. So I spend a lot of time visualizing, I spend a lot of time meditating and stuff because it helps me center myself. And I learned from Dr. Joe Dispenza, in one of his books, that the human mind can't comprehend between the difference in your past, because you learn from these things that happens in your past. And the human brain can't comprehend the difference between the past and your future. All you know is if you put your finger in a door and the door slams in your finger, ouch, that's going to hurt. The next time that door goes slamming, your hands are going to be like, oh, not this time, because you've learned from that. And you build up these reactions and stores in your body, and you just build these responses up to what's been fed to in your past. But you're going to learn from your past and all the stuff that's got you to this point. And yeah, you can build up a certain amount of like knowledge and power from that, having that knowledge and experience. But you can also learn from your future. And I realized that the person that I wanted to be, I could learn from it. You know, I've walked through my halls in my house. I've stepped out in my cars. I've played with my kids. I've been in my villas. I've got off my planes. I've seen my family around my pool. I've gone on holidays with them. I've smelled the scents around my house. You know, I've listened to the sounds around my house. I've walked down to the sea and I realized that when it came down to building the life and the person I want to be, that I couldn't learn from the person that I was, because the person I was angry, he was hurt, he was this, and he was werewolfing. This guy up here, the future me, had it all figured out. So I just started learning from that. And I think having a mentor in life is so important. And I think a life mentor is different. So my happiness coach helped me find me, which I'm not the person which I want to be. And
has that just made you kind of crystal clear as to your future and what you want it to look like with this happiness coach? Do you feel?
I think you're never going to be crystal clear on it.
Yeah, there's going to be...
I don't try to spend too much time in the future like that, but I like to tap into the future like for decisions that I think I need to make, because I don't think you can think of like the immediate now or the immediate short term even, of like if I make a decision now, what the effect is that going to be for me in 6 months? But I wanted to have that compound effect of what's this decision now going to do for me in 10 years, 20 years time? What I want to be playing with my kids, what I want to be...
Your values kind of in a way, is it?
Yeah. So I think if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for everything. So I just build up these values, core values and beliefs. And that's, I've said no a lot more now. I used to say yes to a lot of things. I didn't want to close off a lot of doors. But now I'm at a point where I'm saying no a lot more. And I'm opting out of opportunities that come my way because it's in line with my values and what I want to do with myself. And I have coaches for everything.
Yeah.
Because I'm not the all-knowing source. And my coaches come from books. I read a lot of books, as we share a lot of books together. I read a lot of books. I have a coach for different things in crypto. I have a coach for different things in property and different things that I do. And also I think it's very important to have a coach for your health as well. And that's something that you've helped me an awful lot with. And also other guys like James Cooper was my first coach. Josh Murray was another one of my coach, gave me a big breakthrough, and I started working with you. And after that, I was related to you more. I felt we connected a lot more different things. So I think you need coaches for everything. Yeah, and I think you constantly need coaching too. I think that's, as I said, success is dynamic. And right now I'm not in the shape I want to be in because I'd put a certain amount of my life and power into a certain part of this business that I'm building and this current business that I'm working on. And yeah, I think having a coach is just good to push in the right way and pull the discipline back in and have accountability. And we miss that. Accountability is massive.
Yeah, for sure. And like, even I remember kind of, I suppose, when we first met back, funny story how we met in zero gravity out of all fucking places. I don't think either of us have been back not inside there.
On the podcast, but however.
I mean, Versace, wasn't it? But yeah, no, funny. Just I remember you were really good Nick then, but I remember I came back after that summer. I think potentially you were saying you kind of fallen out of routine and kind of, you know, just into, I suppose, badder habits, and you weren't getting up on time, weren't going to sleep on time and stuff. So I suppose, how do you feel that, like, you know, having that, I suppose, that routine, that structure, a coach to actually guide you through the process, having goals to work in terms of your physique and your health, do you think that kind of benefits your business side of things as well? Yeah,
I think it's, for me, it was the thing I couldn't get right.
Okay.
I'd kind of like, not say mastered very overarching.
At a high level.
But I did a lot of things right. And I think that I could eventually hire employees or people to come and partner with to run certain elements of it. Couldn't do that for my body. And I think the discipline and the confidence that I got from getting myself in shape and learning something new, which was about my body, which is my vehicle in life. Mm-hmm. I had to take care of that because I want to be around for a long time. I want to live forever. So I realized that I want to look nice when I go on stages. I want to look nice. You only get one chance at the first impression, you know? When you first meet somebody, you want to be the ultimate you. It's good too.
It's a status symbol, really, isn't it? Being in shape is just because it's hard work, discipline. It's not fucking easy. It's not. Like, to get your abs out, fucking, that takes a lot of fucking hard work and a lot of sacrifice.
I mean, you could take a trip to Turkey and get them all glued on.
Like, we can get the hair, the teeth, the whole lot done. But when it comes to getting into shape, I think it really, really, and like, you just, like, when you see people, you have to respect them. I think when they're in fucking good shape and in good nick, because you can't really pay for that shit, really.
Yeah. And for me, it started out as just being like, I want to live longer. I want to be healthier myself. I want to boost my confidence. And I didn't realize the discipline that came with it.
Yeah, for sure.
Because the one thing I didn't have to be in like really good nick when I was in business was the discipline. I didn't have that. Mm-hmm. So I got into really good shape only by becoming dogged and determined and disciplined and making better decisions. For me, I don't want to go competing. I don't want to go competing. It's not that I want to look shredded the whole time year round, because that's not part of my lifestyle. Yeah. What got me to the place that I'm in now is better decisions. And I want to do that for my health as well. Mm-hmm. And I think that was the biggest thing for me. It showed me how to do better decisions across the board. I was good at making instantaneous decisions for my business, which I knew would be good decisions, or would forecast and be good decisions at the very least. But, you know, a lot of those was intuitive. With what I was doing with the work in the gym, it centered me. It gave me more discipline in the mornings. It gave me more routine outside of my workload. And when I was, going through things in my head, or I was thinking about scenarios or how I could play them out, you can build up aggression in different places. You can build up, and that can manifest itself in so many different ways. I was able to take that out in the gym. I was able to release that from me. I was able to get that thinking space. And some of the best ideas I've had, some of the best things have come to me in the gym. I was like, oh,
wow. It's just that mental clarity that comes with it, isn't it? Like, even for me, I don't run that much, just because I've had operations on my hip and stuff like that. But I did quite a bit of running over lockdown, I remember, and stuff like that. And it's just a different buzz when you're running. You're out there, you're fucking pushing yourself through. You just want to stop, but you just kind of keep pushing through it. I think it's a really, really good feeling. And then, as you said, just afterwards, the feeling you get off it, and just the kind of the thoughts, the mental clarity that you get after it as well, I think is really, really fucking powerful. Yeah,
I think it's very good to look good. You can buy the nicest clothes you want, man. You can buy Gucci this, Versace that. If you want to dress up a piece of shit, that's fine.
Yeah,
You can paint a piece of shit gold.
Yeah.
But if you strip off that piece of gold, that's that layer of paint you put over it, it's still a piece of shit. So I wanted to feel good with my clothes on and my clothes off. That was it for me. And I knew that whatever clothes I put on to dress myself, because you're dressing yourself afterwards, like what's garnishing you, it should only be complimentary to what you have going on.
Not buying these, as you said, these expensive brands to try and feel better about yourself when it's like, you're fat, you're out of shape. You can't walk up the stairs without fucking getting out of breath. It's like, no, you need to kind of address the real problem. Get yourself into shape, get yourself fit, get healthy, make those right choices.
It's a pillar, you know. I think it's one of the pillars, like the 3 pillars is I focus on now. Is health, wealth and happiness. I base everything around that. And if it doesn't align with those 3 pillars, I don't want it. Look, I dabble and I'll have a drink and I'd blow out, and I will. I'm not regimental about everything. I want to enjoy myself too. And if I mean having a drink on occasion, I'll have a drink. And it could be multiple occasions in 1 week.
I think sometimes it is good to have a little bit of blowout. Well, especially when you're fucking grafting the whole time. You're in the gym, you're hitting it hard, you're working hard on your business. I think sometimes having that little bit of a reset, a little bit of a blowout can be the best thing for you.
Yeah, definitely. I think when you do have that, it's like a cheat meal. I know a cheat meal can turn into a cheat day and a cheat weekend, but like
you'll try to keep it as that one meal.
You have to come back into the accountability, you know. And I think if you don't hold yourself accountable, it's nice to have a course that can do that. And I think once you get into that discipline, because it takes 21 days to break down a habit, 21 days to form the new one, and 21 days to establish that. So you're talking about 2 to 3 months of actually building into a lifestyle change for yourself that has potential to stay. And if you don't make it past those 3 months, we call it 3 months, you're not going to stay at something. So I think it rolls into everything. And that's why I think when you do your 12-month blocks, you know, like our 12-week blocks of like training routines, 10-week or 12-week, that's a block that people need to get through. And they're going to be like, oh, I'm so motivated now. And then it falls off after 2 or 3 weeks, or they fall off the wagon and they make a mistake. But I think if you can build that into your life and your business, and it starts in the gym, so as simple as just going and getting some exercise in and have that accountability ingrained into yourself. Accountability turns into discipline. And discipline is a building block for everything else in your life. You know, it's your right to say yes or no. And you get to make that choice every single minute of every day. And as I said, it just becomes an option for you of making better decisions. You don't also have to be right the whole time. But if you try to apply the Pareto principle of 80-20, 8% of the time. If you can get it right 8% of the time, you'd be doing better than a lot of people.
For sure.
You know?
Mark, that is a good chat, my man. We've been chatting for quite a while.
Oh yeah, it rolled.
No, for sure, man. Yeah, no, I appreciate that very, very much. So I'd say I'll wrap it up there. A lot of knowledge and a lot of, nuggets inside there for a lot of people. So is there anything that you kind of want to finish off with? Maybe that, if there's people out there listening that, I suppose they're kind of in a similar situation where they're in college, they're really not feeling it. And they, I suppose they, want to kind of live a similar life to you and kind of own businesses. What would you recommend them to do? Topics, books, courses, anything?
Yeah, I think people get pissed off me when actually they tell them this is like, I always recommend books. Because I started out with books. And if you ask me a question of like, oh, how did you achieve this? I would recommend you books. It's like a doctor prescribes medicine. I'd prescribe books to go and read, and a series of books, because it just makes you come to your own conclusions. I can prompt you with things and say, oh, go to this, but it mightn't actually resonate you in the right way. So I always say read a book in time instead of just in case. So if you've no interest in going to get into sales, don't read a book in sales. If you have an interest in changing your motivation, your mindset first, go and do that. If you have an interest in actually getting in health, getting your health right, get a trainer first. Start off there. Start off somewhere. Like, doesn't matter where you start, just start. And then trust the process. Things are going to go wrong. You're going to make bad decisions. You're going to get knocks. You just have to kind of keep going. Sounds very Rocky-esque, but you just have to keep going if it's worth that to you. When it comes into different avenues I went and explored, Barber was my medium. It's a thing that I love, and I married the scissors. I don't know if you can see that, but I married the scissors tattooed on my finger. I love it, and I never moved these tattoos because this makes up part of my identity and who I am, and I like cutting hair. But I think you can use, as I said, I call it a gateway drug. You can use these gateways, and it could be barbering, it could be fitness, it could be property, it could be accounting, whatever it is, it could be your gateway into the life that you want to live. So go through these things, go through it, and don't wallow in the problems when they come up. Try to be more solution oriented, because you can become a victim very fast. And the one thing I never really assimilated to was owning my victimhood. So you could say, oh, things are against me, and I grew up in this shithole in Ireland, and I grew up here, and no, I shouldn't have this, and well, so what? I can't change it. So when things go wrong, spend a bit of time identifying what went wrong and how you can troubleshoot that and ask the 5 whys. So why? And you usually get to the back of that problem being a human error, somewhere you fucked up on. So trust the process when it comes to it. Enjoy yourself along the way. Don't be so rigid on all things. Make mistakes. Fall in and out with friends, fall in and out with family. Sometimes the people you think should have your back the whole time are not the people that actually have your back. Sometimes it's people who you randomly meet in zero gravity are the people that actually... There's sometimes the new people that can have the most love and passion and give towards you, even more than your family, because often your family are reflecting, or your friends are reflecting their own fears and insecurities on you. And you end up becoming a victim to that sometimes. Like, we can't do this because of that. Our people did this, so we do that. So take some chances, take some risks, roll the dice. If you mess up, go back to the drawing board. It's okay to fail. It's okay to be in the wrong. It's okay to be sorry with things. Identify these problems for yourself. Take the leap. Read some books. Follow some good people. Find out. Reach out to people on Instagram. Just talk to random people in the street. Be friendly. If you have issues with confidence, try start with saying hello to 5 random people in the street. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning. And all of a sudden, your confidence starts building. I have an unshakable confidence. Don't know why, but I say hello to a lot of people. There's a guy sitting here offset, and just randomly got a conversation with him just before we started. Got his number. It turns out he does car detailing, and then I picked up business. A thing I needed off him. He picked up a thing he needed off me. So you never know who's around the corner for you. So you have to just keep knocking on doors. I could be actually literally knocking on doors. You want into sales? My first job was a charity job, talking to people in the street and knocking on doors. So you never know what you're going to need. And I think you can manufacture your own luck. And I think manufacturing your own luck, I used to get very pissed off when people used to say, you're so lucky. Very pissed off about it. But I realized by learning these things, by sitting with people, by reading these books, you start to become ready. Don't know what you're ready for yet. Just start getting ready. So I think for anyone who wants to follow the same path as me, I try to always be prepared by going reading books and reading things and looking forward to what I think problems might be in the future. Looking forward to thinking where I might be in the future, personally, physically, emotionally, what I'll want from life, and build your pillars around that. As I said, if you don't stand for something, you're going to fall for everything. So start building those values fast. Start making adjustments in yourself. Get a good personal trainer. It's all there, man. I think it's all, as I said earlier on, there's a lot of pussies and bitches out there, and I think if you can become a savage by hardening yourself, I think you can run right over people. I think you can run right over people. I think you can be whatever you want to be, and people are sometimes afraid to dream. And as I said earlier on, they're too busy focusing on what can go wrong, what can go right. That's it. What can go right? Just start working on that.
For sure, man. I think you made like a good point as well. Is just like actually just start doing something. It's a gateway. Like for me, 100%, getting into the gym was a gateway drug for me to then start into personal development, to then go into business. And it just kind of just starts to snowball, doesn't it? Once you start with something, you start going into something, it starts opening up new doors, new opportunities. And at the end of the day, it gets you to fucking places you never thought possible, really.
Exactly. And I think as well as that, I think it's about saying yes enough times till you have to say no.
Yeah.
Never close off anything. Never fuck anybody over unless they really ever come into you. Like when I fuck somebody over, I'll tell you the reason why I'll fuck you over before I fuck you over. Here's my reasons that if you ever do this to me, if this happens here, this is when I will snap your face. And it might just come from, I won't hit you, I won't do like that, but this is my terms of where I cut you off. And for me, I think that's the biggest insult I can give to somebody, just cutting them off. So as I said, man, I think anybody can be anything they want. It's a matter of deciding on that. So yeah, look at where we are, and that's like part of this. Like I knew when you asked me to come on this podcast, I was like, I'm gonna be here for this. I know I'm kind of stuck on time. I know we made this work, so I appreciate you having me on the show. I appreciate you putting me down as guest number uno. It's been great being here, man. Appreciate it.
An absolute pleasure.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.